Welcome back to Ultimate Combat Radio. Mike Stidham here talking a little mixed martial arts here in the studios of The Zone, 97.5 FM and 1280 AM. This segment is brought to you by Aztec Highway. Get it your way at the highway, WDFA. Now, our poll question for this evening is, who is the biggest crybaby in all of sports? Now, Robertina, if somebody wanted to chime in on that, how would they go about doing that?
You can call us, 470-570 or 670-1280. Text us, 53318. You got to text in Zone. And who you think is the biggest crybaby. Or get on us at facebook.com/Ultimate Combat Radio.
And we've had a lot of good feedback on Facebook today. You put the question up the other day, and I've seen some people really coming up with stuff. They really put a little thought into this, too. And, in fact, your list, I see the people that are going onto Facebook, they've actually kind of mirrored some of what you said.
It's because great minds think alike.
That is right. Oh, apparently. Well, I understand we're having a hard time getting Court McGee on the line. So, we do have Court McGee on the line. Well, we were talking about crybabies, and really, you know, it's kind of a bad segue into Court McGee because this is a guy who's probably the farthest from a crybaby as you're ever going to get. Court, how the heck are you, man?
I'm fantastic, man. How are you, Mike?
Well, I'm doing pretty dang good. How do we keep losing you? What's going on?
I don't know. I just answered, sit there waiting, and then...
Cell phone service.
All right. Well, are you all set for the 17th? Let's get that out of the way.
Yes, sir, man. I'm as good as I'm going to get today, that's for sure.
Well, all right.
John Appleman put me through some gnarly stuff today.
Yeah?
So I'm just thankful to be sitting down right now.
I hear you. Now, in researching for this fight, it looks like the two of you had very similar careers in terms of your longevity and the amount of fights you have. The big difference, though, I noticed, you cut your teeth in the Ultimate Combat, and he was wasting his time in Korea and Japan. So clearly you got the edge there.
I was on Mike Stidham's Ultimate Combat.
Yeah, baby. Let's talk about your early career, man. You really came on the scene quick. I mean, you were a guy that you know you were, and I've known you since you were a kid. So I mean, yeah. I always knew you were tough. But you came on the scene, and then before you know it, you're beating Justin Ellison, which is a kid that everybody was afraid of. How do you feel like you made such great strides in such a short period of time?
Well, I think I started in martial arts and Shintoshi karate, and I did that for quite a while, and it wasn't. I like the sparring, you know, and so it wasn't extreme enough, and so I started wrestling. As a matter of fact, you were the one who said, "Hey, man, why don't you ask your dad about getting into some Pee Wee wrestling?" And we ended up getting into Pee Wee wrestling for a couple years, and I came back and wrestled my 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade year, and they quit every program in Utah. Wrestling program, and I couldn't afford to go out of state, and so that's kind of how it all started with the martial arts. But you know, I got into, after the high school stuff, I was a little irritated with the world because I wasn't able to wrestle, and so I started drinking and partying. And
you took a wrong turn.
Yeah, I took a wrong turn. Which is crazy because today's September 9th. So September 9th, 2005 is the night that I overdosed on heroin.
Wow. Well,
my 6-year anniversary, man.
Well, that's amazing that we wound up on your 6-year anniversary because I know you talk about that a lot, and it's a very inspiring story. If you guys haven't heard it, it's kind of a long story, but Court, you tell it like nobody can, too, and it's a very inspiring, inspirational story.
Yeah. I just, you know, that was the last. I was drinking and partying and using coke and meth and heroin, and I mixed too many of them and a little too much, and my heart gave out, and you know, I don't know, just the right things happened that night, and I ended up in the hospital where I needed to be, and stayed there for a couple of days in ICU, well, 6 days in ICU in a coma, and then about 25 days in ICU intensive care. Got out and I went to a rehab facility and
never looked back.
Stayed sober for 6 months, and then I relapsed one last time. I was out for 2 weeks and 1 day, and that was April 16th, 2006, and I haven't had a drop or drug since.
Well, you know, you say you haven't had a drop or a drug, but I think MMA is a drug. I really do. I feel like it can. If there's anything that can replace a high of heroin or cocaine, it's MMA. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree to a certain point. Absolutely, man. You know, a lot of people ask me, especially in interviews, why it is that I fight, and I say, number one, to carry the message to other people who struggle, man, because I know how it is to be homeless and, you know, and strung out in a trailer park somewhere, man. And, you know, that's exactly where I was at. And from where I'm at there to where I'm at now, man, there's a vast difference, you know. I'm grateful for simple things in my life, and I have a family, and I have a home, and I have 2 vehicles that are paid for, and, I have a gym facility that I'm proud of, and I have 2 coaches that I'm proud of, and that work with me really well. And October 26, 2007, I decided to quit my job as a commercial plumber and become a full-time professional MMA fighter. And
that's working out.
That's the day I signed to fight Jeremy Horn on your show.
Yeah.
That's the day that everything changed. So, I took advantage of it. I struggled for about 2.5 years, really struggled to barely make it. But what I did is I competed often as much as I could, and with the best guys I could find in jiu-jitsu and in boxing and in MMA, and tried to make a run at it, and got lucky, made it onto the Ultimate Fighter. Not a lot of people do, but the guys that get the opportunity better hope they put some time behind them.
Yeah, Court, I don't think you got lucky, because there's just a genuineness behind your when you speak, and I think that's what really came through to the UFC, because clearly they saw what I see in you, and it's a testament to who you are, and I'm proud of you, man. You've done great.
Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate everything you've done, man.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'll tell you what, that's the thing too, man. Is number one, I do it to carry the message. Number two, the payout that I can better take care of my family. And number 3 is because I like fighting, being in the fight. I like figuring out how to beat somebody, and that's where I enjoy it, and that's where I thrive, and that's what I look forward to, the practice and all that stuff. You don't always look forward to showing up to practice every day and getting punched and getting beat up, man, and getting worked every day. And, and with money and success comes a heavy price tag, but I'll tell you what, man, what I do enjoy is being in that fight.
I know
regardless
you do.
If I'm winning or losing. So
you can see it in your face when you fight. Let's talk about your opponent real quick. He's a striker. Now, you talked about your martial arts background. He's a striker. He's got an impressive record. 10 of his 11 wins coming by way of KO or TKO. What have you done to prepare for this guy?
Well, I took 2 professional boxing matches, and I took 4 amateur boxing matches prior in my career to help me, because I felt like that was a weak point, and I work on it and focus. And my coaches watched a little bit of video, and he's kind of a heavy-handed guy, and a lot of his TKOs were he would kind of muscle guys to the ground with body locks and his judo and stuff, and then he would he would start the ground and pound, and they'd either give up their back or he'd TKO ground and pound them. So we worked getting up off our back and hitting and moving, and focus on wearing him out in that first round, because it seems like a lot of his wins and a lot of his stuff is done early in the fight. And
he gasses as he goes, doesn't he?
And he gasses, and that's what happens when people try to muscle somebody. And so I'm not going to play to his strength and muscle him back, even if I think I have the strength or not. I'm going to focus on hitting him and moving and hitting him and moving and getting him to where he starts missing. And
good luck wrestling Court to the ground.
By the way, Josh Berkman's in studio with us here, man. He's piping in on here. He's got a couple comments.
I'm just listening to you, but I said good luck wrestling you to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where have you been?
Getting right back up.
Where have you been spending most of your time? You talk about your coaches that have been helping you with it, prepare for this fight. Where have you been doing that?
I spent 3 weeks with John Hackelman out in Arroyo Grande, and we've got 3 or 4 really good partners out there. More strikers. But they do have a couple of guys that are really good wrestlers. And then I do the other part here. Every camp I've had for the finale and for the fights in the house, I had Jake Shields as a partner. And this time I didn't have the opportunity to go out there. And so I didn't get to work with Jake this time, but the guy I'm fighting, Southpaw, and I had, I had 4 Southpaws. We had 2 guys come in. I have 4 guys right now, and all of them are about 210. One of them just muscles the shit out of me. The other guy...
I don't think you can say that on the radio, but... That's all right.
Yeah, the other guy's got an endless gas tank, and the other one is like trying to ride a backpack around. He takes your back, and you can't get him off. So that's where a lot of this guy's finishes were. So I had great partners. All of them were heavy, and, I'm ready to go, man. I'm as ready as I'm going to get today, that's for sure.
But you sound like it, man. You're getting me excited right now. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's tougher, you or Berkman?
I got to say me.
Of course. There you go.
I would expect you to say nothing else.
Let me ask you another question. If you fought Jeremy Horn right now, who wins?
Me,
Court beats Jeremy Horn's ass. And you can say ass on the radio.
I have improved.
I know, but I wanted to hear you say it. So, okay, let's talk about that. You're you're in a pretty tough weight class. So, I mean, Anderson Silva just put on a clinic the other night. Where do you see yourself? I mean, do you look at him like the rest of us do and say, man, that guy is just phenomenal? Or you look at him and say, that's a guy I may be fighting one day, and this is what I'm looking to beat him with? Or how does that kind of play out with you?
That happened about 2.5 years ago when I first met him at the Roberto Piccinini's gym in L.A. I've always grown up thinking that somebody was better than me at this and somebody was better than me in this, but no matter what, I could figure out how to beat them. Like, I didn't care if they were smarter than me or whatever we were competing. If they swam, if I got a hold of his back, I could choke him unconscious. And, that's kind of what I do, is size guys up in fighting, and I don't feel like I'm less than. I feel like I'm equal to anybody and everybody. And I got to keep it that way, man. I can't say, I'm going to beat this guy or not beat this guy. Technically, man, I can't tell you if I can beat Josh or beat Jeremy until I do. And, I just kind of look at it that way, like, okay, well, how do I size up to this guy? And but it doesn't matter, man. Until you show up that day and in that fight, man, you never know what can happen.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know what I mean? That anything can happen. You get a world-class wrestler, and he wants to stand and bang the whole 15 minutes, And
right.
So it kind of changes up all the time. I've got great partners and great wrestlers, and sometimes it doesn't end up the way it's supposed to be, and sometimes you're sick, and sometimes But I just do the best that I can do today to ensure that I'll show up on the 17th and make all my friends, my family, and my fans proud. Utah, make Utah proud.
Well, good. We are proud of you, man. So let's talk hypothetically. They say styles make matchups. Who among the top tier fighters do you feel like you match up against very well, that you would like to see that fight to maybe launch you into contender status? Who do you think you match up well against?
I've never really put any thought into it. I'm in the contract right now, so I have the 5 to 6 fights, and I have a couple years to do it. They're already set. If I can, I want to try and refrain getting in my title contention or fighting Anderson Silva while I'm in this contract, because you get paid $24,000 to show and $24,000 to win against Anderson. He's making $250,000.
Yeah,
kind of like, oh man, But you know what? I'll take what I can get, man. And whoever. Yeah, I'm just proud to be in the UFC and proud to be competing with top level athletes, because it really shows, and it gives you an opportunity to show how you've improved every time, and shows if you can change and step your game up and step your level up and try and take it as far as I can. So
I agree with that sentiment, but there's got to be in the back of your mind, you've got to kind of feel where you fit in the middleweight picture. Where do you feel like you fit in right now? And that's awesome. You've got 2 years to grow into that contender status. Where do you think you fit in right now?
I don't know. I'd say midway through the pack. I'd say I have lots of room to improve. I'm 26. I've put a little over 4,000 hours into my professional career. So, I say I don't peak out until I'm 29, 30 years old. And, that's 4, 5, 6, 7 fights from now. That's where I'll be at the top and the peak of my level. But I don't know, man. You never know. You never know. All it takes is one punch, man, or one little mistake to slip up and, now you're in title contention.
Well, you know what, I tell you, Court, that's what I love about you. You're very grounded. You're a realist. You kind of see things from a realistic perspective, and you haven't forgotten where you came from, and I really got nothing but tons of respect for you, my man, and we're going to be cheering for you next weekend, and best of luck.
Right on.
Thanks for coming on the show, my man.
Hey, no problem. Anytime, Mike.
All right, Court, have a great weekend.
Hey, take care, guys.
Later,
Good
buddy.
stuff, man. Court McGee is just cool.
Hey, you know what, Court? He's just getting started in his career.
And he realizes that. He's not trying to say, I'm going to beat Anderson Silva
tomorrow.
He
can say it, but Court is one of the best up-and-comers in that weight class. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And the thing about Court, being around him for years and watching him train before The Ultimate Fighter, is you knew he was going to make it because he worked harder than anybody in the gym. And that's who Court McGee is. He's going to outwork you. He's going to out-persevere you.
Right. And they love him at the UFC. They love him over there. For that reason, they saw his hard work ethic, and that's what I think Dana White falls in love with that.
Right, absolutely.
So good stuff, man. All right. Well, you just heard a little bit from Josh Berkman. We're going to be talking a lot more to that guy.